This is Spirit Gym. Today's episode is a solo cast by Paul on the Big Six for Body Mind Health today.
To begin with, I would like to share a practice that I have been doing for the last few years on my birthday, just to remind myself that I am not getting older, that I'm getting healthier and wiser, and that is I build myself a birthday cake out of stone, which took me about 4 workouts to build. And I'm doing this to not only show you a great way to get outdoors and keep yourself fit, be creative, and enhance your athletic ability, but demonstrate that at 63 years of age, living the very teachings that I give through the CHEK Institute, I'm still a healthy, fit, and strong man, a young man. Oh, shit. Woo, that was close. And I share this because it concerns me deeply when I see young men as early as 19 and 20 taking testosterone replacement and falling deep into biohacking and trying to take shortcuts for which there are no shortcuts. There are only foundation principles. I also see many men around 45 to 50 also chasing after biohacking and testosterone replacement, often sold through very slick sales discussions and the belief that men need that kind of stuff, which is really just a symptom of not knowing how to live effectively. And I'm by no means anybody special. I just happen to live in harmony with nature and understand the principles of holistic health. There's a lot of experts out there, but very few of them are actually healthy. I always tell my students, if you can't teach in your underwear so everyone can see the results of your own living philosophy, then you should continue to practice until you have something legitimate to share, which goes hand in hand with the old statement, never judge a man by the creed he or she professes, but by the life he or she leads. And I think that's very, very important today. So to begin our journey into the Big Six for Body, Mind, Health today, those Big Six are 3 feminine or yin principles, 3 masculine or yang principles, the 3 feminine: nutrition, hydration, sleep. Then the yang or masculine: breathing, thinking, and movement. While I'm thinking about it right up front, remember yin is the principle of multiplying power. So whenever we're doing a yin practice, such as eating good food, drinking high quality structured water, sleeping, or working in, where we're using movement to cultivate life force energy, not spend it, we are in a yin stage of multiplying power and multiplying resources, which correlates to the parasympathetic nervous system, right brain activity, and learning, growth, repair, and any anabolic function. Anabolic means tissue building or restoration. Yang, by definition, means the division of power and the utilization of resources. So we've got breathing, thinking, and movement, although thinking and breathing and movement do have yin components, just this that most people don't know how to live that way or use those functions for regeneration. The yang energies relate to the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight branch of the autonomic nervous system. And those functions of thinking, breathing, and movement, or nutrition, hydration, sleep, can also be yang. For example, if you're eating things that are heating your body or overly stimulating your body or poisoning your body or inflaming your body, what should be yin becomes yang and leads to further utilization of resources, toxification of the body, and ultimately burnout. And that leads to illness and disease and ultimately death. Now, to start with, I'd like to share some important resources from my library that I think all of you should know about. But for those of you that want to do some study and have some resources, but I'd like to point out first and foremost that my now 20 years running book, here's the 20th anniversary edition of How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. And this book contains a much more comprehensive approach to what I'm sharing here. There's only so much I can share in a podcast, obviously. But in that book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, is a series of questionnaires which are weighted. Then you fill out a score graph, and it shows you which systems of your body are under too much stress, and it tells you which chapters to read for the appropriate stretches, exercises, joint mobilizations, diet, and lifestyle modifications to bring that stress level down, to bring yourself into harmony. And it shows you, based on your total stress score, which exercise program in the book that I offer would be right for your level of stress and fitness. Now, I highly recommend you all, especially parents, consider my online holistic lifestyle coach level 1. It is the entryway to our professional holistic lifestyle coach training, but it is designed specifically for the general public. There's no prerequisites required. It's a fully complete online training program with multiple other instructors with me, all with unique expertise. And that program will help you learn how to better implement and understand what I share in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. And that course has been taken by countless thousands of people, and it's changed many, many lives for the better. And I think it's very, very important today to get some guidance on how to do these things. There's a lot of trickery going on out there. And speaking of the trickery going on out there, some books everybody needs. This is an older book. You probably could still find it. It's called Beating the Food Giants by Paul A. Stitt. Paul A. Stitt was a food scientist. He worked for Quaker Oats and I believe other major corporations. But this book was probably one of the pioneering books showing exactly the kind of trickery that's going on with the manipulation of your food and how it is pretty much depleted of nutrition and actually probably more toxic than helpful to the human body. Another important book is A Consumer's Dictionary of Food Additives by Ruth Winter MS. There might be a newer version than the one I have. If you look up any food additive that you see on a label, if you don't already know what it is, it'll tell you what the effects of that in your body are. It'll give you key information you need to know about it, such as, is it neurotoxic? Does it cause cancer? And I think, again, if you're a parent, this is critical information to have. One of my nutrition rules is if you cannot pronounce a word on the label, chances are good your liver will not like it. So we want to be very aware that the food system today is the most toxic and dangerous it's ever been, which reflects itself in the fact that we now have, as most of you are well aware, the most chronic cases of illness, disease, chronic fatigue, chronic health problems of all types. Last year, we spent $3 trillion managing one disease alone, diabetes. Our U.S. national budget for the military is approximately $1.9 trillion, which is the most expensive in the world. And our health care system is the most expensive in the world and ranks among the worst for performance. So we need to take care of ourselves, and I think it's time for us all to do that anyhow. Relying on experts and mommy and daddy figures has never worked, and it never will work. And so we need to be adult about taking care of ourselves. Another important book, David Steinman and Samuel Epstein, MD's Safe Shopper's Bible, A Consumer's Guide to Non-Toxic Products, Cosmetics, and Food. I've recommended this to countless of my patients in my career since the book came out, but it tells you all sorts of stuff you need to know about foods, whether there's been research done on various additives such as aspartame and things like that. Detoxification, I will talk a little bit about. The first thing to remember about detoxification is eating high quality organic, really raised or biodynamically raised food is going to begin your detox right away. One of the big limiters on detoxification is people simply are nutritionally deficient. And so if you don't have the nutrition on board and the enzymes on board to run your detoxification pathways, then your body can only shuttle the toxins into fat, waiting for the day that you finally get the nutrition to activate those pathways. So this is a great book by Jacqueline Crone, MD, and Francis Taylor, MA, Natural Detoxification, a Practical Encyclopedia, your complete guide to clearing your body of toxins. This is extremely important to read if you're ever hearing anyone tell you that you need to be on the carnivore diet or the keto diet or the this diet or the that diet or whatever it is. But this book is Biochemical Individuality by Roger Williams, PhD, a timeless classic that links the diversity in your anatomy and body chemistry to our unique nutritional needs. But this book shows you that there is no one size fits all because there are no two people the same on this planet. The general rule of thumb I give my students is always remember this rule: you're as different on the inside as you are on the outside. So we have to be very careful with these cookie cutter concepts, be it veganism, vegetarianism, fruitarianism. Any ism is always a danger. This one is an older book, which is important because it shows you this information has been around for quite some time. It's called Nutrition and Your Mind, The Psychological Response by George Watson. And it shows you beyond a shadow of a doubt that as nutrition becomes depleted, then the mind, shall we say, just starts to break down and you get all sorts of behavioral disorders and psychological problems. This one here is also an older one, still available. It's by Barbara Reed Stitt, Food and Behavior, A Natural Connection, another book full of research showing the correlation between diet and behavior, which is similar to nutrition and your mind, but a lot of unique studies that show you beyond a shadow of a doubt as a foundation for understanding why we have so many problems with young people today that are anxious, depressed, and the highest rates of suicide we've ever had in all age categories. Now, we're going to journey into what I call the big six of health, mind-body health today, because you need to know these today. So on the board here, I've left sort of a map of all the things that we're going to talk about, but I'm going to go by a fairly straightforward numerical approach so it's easier to remember. To start with, I'll give you the six: 1 love, 2 forces, 3 choices, 4 doctors, 5 program design factors you always need to be aware of, and 6 foundation principles. So to start with, we see 1 love. There's a few things that I learned through many, many years of being a therapist. And one of the things that I learned is it does not matter how good of advice a doctor or a therapist gives somebody, if they don't have a reason to change that is really something that they can buy into with their heart, they will pay exorbitant amounts of money. They will have all sorts of surgeries, and they will go home and they will not follow the programs or suggestions of doctors and therapists, and they will do exactly the same things that got them trouble over and over again. I've seen people have multiple surgeries for the same problems and still keep doing the same things, drinking the alcohol, eating the junk food, eating gluten, you name it. So I learned that the first thing I have to do as a therapist is identify something that gives that individual a sense of levity that's stronger than the gravity or the inertia that is limiting their ability to change. So the first thing that I've got on the board here is 1 love. 1 love means what is your one thing that you love enough to heal for, to grow for, to commit to changing for. And I teach love in 3 levels: I, we, all. First, we must make sure that our dream or goal or objective for our healing process, or any legitimate goal, is something that we personally buy into and that we take responsibility for loving and caring for ourselves, instead of expecting someone else to do it for us, or expecting doctors to keep us healthy or therapists to fix our problems. And if we don't participate in having a clear dream and something that motivates and inspires us to live the 6 principles I'm talking about today, then we're always going to show up empty to some degree. Therefore, because we're 50% of each we relationship, to the degree that we come into relationship with our wife or our husband or our children or our intimate partners or our co-workers, we're always lacking, and there's an inherent childlike unconscious desire for others to fulfill the part of us that we have not fulfilled. So if you're not feeding yourself well because you're telling yourself you're in a hurry all the time, you're going to be hoping somebody else is going to feed you. If you're not taking time to exercise, you're going to go into your relationships lacking exercise, and if the other person's taking time for it, you might start resenting them. So in order to truly love any other, we must first love ourselves and fill our cup up, or we don't really have anything to share. And then at the all level, we must be conscious that whatever we're doing is being emulated by and watched by children, by others. And if we want to make the world a better place, the first thing that we can do to make sure it happens is start with loving and caring for ourselves. And as we heal and grow and have more nutrition on board, have more energy, and have more natural libido flowing through us, our creativity begins to blossom. And as our worldview changes to match our internal state, the world actually starts to look much more beautiful. It starts to resonate back to us. People that are depressed and have an unhealthy body look out and see a depressive, unhealthy world. People that are happy and inspired even during challenging times like the COVID pandemic will actually see possibilities and look for ways to make the best of something. So these are important facts that we all need to be aware of if you really want to heal and grow. Now, we want to look carefully at thinking, because really all the things that we do are ultimately a collection of the choices we make. Some of you are familiar with the concept of fate. Well, fate could be considered to be the sum of the choices you've made in life. Now, whenever we're dealing with a health crisis or dealing with a relationship crisis or a crisis of self, we're always confronting our own beliefs. The state of our health, the state of our body, the state of our level of fitness, the state of our emotional fitness, the state of our mental fitness or our spiritual fitness is the result of the choices we make, and choices are actions. But behind all those choices is a belief, and it may not be conscious. It could be unconscious, meaning you could be just acting out programmed behavior from your parents or from society, which means you're probably the play toy of governments and corporations and those using social media to direct and control your mind and other advanced means of mind control, which are very popular today. So we want to get clear on what our dream is. So what is our dream goal or objective for right now in your life, particularly if you're dealing with something like being overweight or obese, or being too skinny and not being able to put on enough weight, or having a specific chronic health problem that you can't seem to get over. In my system of education, I tell my students, we don't treat diseases that have people. We coach people that have acquired diseases. The reality of it is, you can expose people to the same stressor, such as basic training in the military, and you'll get a wildly different number of reactions to the same stressor. Someone might get the flu because they're so stressed. Somebody might want to commit suicide. Somebody might start having terrible skin reactions. Someone may have a constipation reaction while the guy next to him's got diarrhea and an irritable bowel type syndrome, because we all have different genetics and a different psychological profile. So we want to make sure that we are paying attention to what our body's telling us, but we want to also look at what is our specific dream as it relates to our challenge, or our dream in general that inspires us to be willing to take care of ourselves and do the necessary learning and growth work to truly have body, mind, health, and fitness. So it could be a goal, it could be objective, or it could be an overarching dream, such as my overarching dream right now is to keep myself in excellent physical, mental condition, because I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I've got to prepare them to enter into a world that now requires children to be much more prepared than even 10 years ago. So my commitment is to my children, and also to lead by example and show people that age is really just a mental state more than a physical limitation if you take care of your body.
Dr. Quiet, she is yin, know how she loves to bring energy in. She teaches you how to rest, so your energy is always at its best. Hey! And I want to tell you a little secret. You know how I support Dr. Quiet? I use Organifi Gold, and it does some magic to help you sleep deeper and restore better so you can get up and be a freedom fighter first thing in the morning and all through the day. And I got Drew Canoli, who created the product, right here, right now, to tell us why it works so well. Drew, what's so unique about Organifi Gold except the fact that my kids won't stop asking for it?
I love this song.
Thank you.
And I think if we were DJing this, we would do Reishi. Because Reishi, full spectrum, 8-to-1, beta glucans, knock you out. The queen of mushroom. Reishi is one of the most powerful things we can put in our body, especially at night. Helps restore, revitalize. Great for the liver.
Yes.
So while we sleep, not only are we restoring and repairing the cells, but we're detoxing in the most effective way possible.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to taste bad. In fact, it could be something you crave.
Yeah.
And that's Organifi Gold. It tastes like autumn had a baby with a marshmallow. Every time I have it, it just knocks me out. I've literally tracked it with my Whoop, my Oura Ring, and it adds another hour to an hour and a half of deep sleep.
That's great.
REM and deep every single night.
You know what's also really cool? Reishi is a wise man. It's not only the name of a mushroom, but a reishi is a wise man.
Oh, true story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
It's absolutely true. I'm not pulling your leg.
And how much wisdom have you and I gained from night school?
A lot of wisdom.
Yep.
Yes, and you gain a lot when you can't sleep. You go, what am I doing wrong? And how do I get it fixed up? So, hey, you know, one time when I was visiting you at your house, you made me a Organifi Gold as a hot tea, and I'd never realized you could make it hot.
It's the best way.
And I was like blown away. I'm like, wow, this is incredibly good. It tastes like dessert.
Mm-hmm.
But it, unlike most sweet things, if you take sweet stuff at night, you can't sleep very well, and it jacks you up. But this stuff was just so relaxing and so amazing. I was like, wow, this is incredible.
And I know you're allergic to coconut.
Yeah.
Right? So, but what I like to do, and this is when I'm being bad, you see, there's a much bigger cannoli than the cannoli you see today. I would eat ice cream and all kinds of comfort food because I'm from Michigan. But one thing that put my cravings in check, I take a little Cocoa Whip.
Yeah.
I put it on top of this
that's
golden
nice.
tea.
Okay.
It is the best drink at night you could ever have. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm intolerant. I'm not allergic, so I did
That's
try
what
it. It just makes me feel stressed, but I found that, you know, if I don't overdo it, I'm good to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to have everybody try Organifi Gold, because we all need to sleep deep and pay attention to what our soul tells us while we dream, so we can work together to make this world a beautiful place for everybody and get our freedom back and get rid of the toxins in the government and other things we need to do.
And now, for a limited time, Organifi Gold Pumpkin Spice is back. All the goodness of regular Organifi Gold with the flavors of fall: pumpkin, cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice. Go to Organifi.com/CHEK20 and use the code CHEK20 to get 20% off your order of Organifi Gold Pumpkin Spice. That's Organifi.com/CHEK20 and the code is CHEK20 to get 20% off your order. Sleep well.
So some of you may not have a stated dream, goal, or objective, or may feel a little lost, or may feel so trapped in yourself or depressed or anxious that you can't even really conjure up a goal. So in my system of education, I say, if you're not clear on what your dream, goal, or objective is, look for what your nightmare is and make it your goal to resolve your nightmare. Your nightmare is the one thing in your life that, if resolved, would free up the most trapped energy or libido. Libido means life force energy. It also means psychic energy. So libido energy is your life force energy that you use to run your whole body. It's not just sex energy, as in copulation, because sex energy is all life force energy. So whenever you have a nightmare, that's where you're the most stuck. You might be the most anxious, the most nervous. Your nightmare could be irritable bowel syndrome. It could be food intolerances, food allergies. It could be chronic headaches. It could be skin conditions. It can be structural problems like chronic back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, knee pain. It could be any number of things. It could be illnesses as a result of medical procedures, which is very, very common. But it's up to us to identify what is the one thing, if we address this squarely and honestly, will actually alleviate the greatest amount of stress in our body and in our mind, and allow more of the libido that was trapped in that issue to be freed, so that it can help us heal, grow, and be more creative in the pursuit of being healthy. So if you don't have a clearly stated dream, then you want to make sure you go for your nightmare. And when we look later at our 5 foundation principles, you'll see number 1 of these 5 principles is willingness. To qualify your dream, to make sure it's a worthy dream, goal, or objective, if we have a 10 scale of 0 is completely uninterested, 10 is kamikaze pilot committed, you need to have at least a 7 or more out of 10 buy-in, or your heart will not get involved. If your intellectual mind's in it, but your heart is not in it, then it's not going to happen. So you need a 7+ out of 10 commitment to get your heart involved if you want to have a well-qualified dream. And I'll talk more about how to state your dream in a little bit. Next, we want to look at the issue of thinking and manifestation, because, as I said, all the behaviors and choices are the products of beliefs, be they conscious or unconscious. So it's really our programming that drives our thinking until we are skilled enough to get beyond our programming. So because it all begins, when it comes to self-management, really with dreaming, because dreaming is a priori to thinking. We can dream without thinking. We dream when we're sound asleep at night and we're not thinking. This is why I call it your dream. Dream comes first, and if we're not conscious, then our thinking antagonizes our dream. But as a general rule of thumb, it's most people's thinking that's either constructive and supportive of their life and their health, or it's antagonistic. And thinking really is the expression of our programming, which is our conscious or unconscious beliefs. So that's where we got to start our work. And that's why I'm giving you all this information about dreams, goals, and objectives. So let's look more into thinking. 1, we want to have a clearly stated dream or goal and an affirmation. So if you say, for example, your dream is to lose weight and get your body fit, so you have the vitality and the freedom from pain to allow yourself the freedom to not be entangled, trapped in your body, or having to spend money all the time on doctors, therapists, and all sorts of pills and creams and wraps and straps like you see so many people in the gym doing, unfortunately. So your affirmation is a statement of that dream that you can read, and it should be a positive affirmation. You should never use words like "I want to." And I'll tell you how to check that. In my holistic lifestyle coaching program, I teach what is called the Grand Canyon test. If you say to the Grand Canyon, "I want to lose 60 pounds in the next 2 months, or 3 months, or 6 months," the Grand Canyon will say, "I want to lose 60 pounds in the next ... I want to lose, I want to lose." So what is the verb? It's wanting. Source, whatever you want to call, whatever you think creates everything, takes you at your word, literally. So if your affirmation has the word wanting in it, or I'm going to, or I hope to, then you're going to be wanting and hoping in 2, 3, or 6 months, or whatever your goal period is. So if you say to the Grand Canyon, I have lost 60 pounds, it's been only 3 months, and I look and feel great, and you repeat that affirmation, and you live that affirmation, which I'll talk about, then you are now using the power of your conscious mind for effective manifestation in dream affirmative ways. So listen to the reverberation. When you say your affirmation, it should state that you are already that person. You already have that body. You already have that partner. You already have that financial stability. You're not wanting or waiting or hoping. Okay? Next, we need clearly stated 4 doctor core values to guide our choices. Your 4 doctors are Dr. Happiness, Dr. Movement, Dr. Diet, and Dr. Quiet. That's number 4. The 2 is the forces we start off with. Yin, the feminine, multiplication of power and resources. Yang, the masculine, division of power and resources. And everything in the created universe comes from those 2 forces, the feminine, the masculine. Feminine, dark, masculine, light. Those 2 dance together and weave creation together. Dr. Happiness is the chief physician of these 4 doctors because 1, it's our responsibility to decide what is happy making for us. It's our responsibility to set time each day to do happy making things, each week, each month, each year. For example, you could have yearly or biannual vacations where you go to retreats or you go to festivals or do things that are happy making for you. You can have daily happy making activities that you are clear are happy making for you. So an example for me, I get up at 3:30 in the morning. I come to work. One of my happy making things is making myself a perfect shot of espresso, which I can only handle 1 a day. That's my threshold. If I go more than that, I get addicted. At 1 a day, I can walk away from it, not have it for days, and don't miss it. So we each have to know what our threshold is. Remember, an addiction is any repeated behavior that does not produce the results you want. So if drinking coffee or tea or soda or eating donuts or any such thing is a repeated behavior that does not produce the results you want, but you keep doing it, technically you have an addiction. So that's something you need to look carefully into. And I have a great podcast I did recently with Luke Story that should be out by the time this one's out, on the Lifestylist podcast with Luke Story, where we get deep into addiction. So you might want to listen to that. I also have an online program called the 1, 2, 3, 4 for overcoming addiction, obesity, and disease, which should be available through the CHEK Institute in the e-learning section. So Dr. Happiness is responsible for our core values, but it's our responsibility to determine what's happy making and do it, or we end up turning to things like social media, which is making us very susceptible to programming through invisible means acting on your unconscious. Television, the use of drugs such as alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, etc., to help get us out of flatland and get a break from the life that we are creating but not taking responsibility for. Dr. Happy is responsible for establishing your daily schedule, your weekly schedule, quarterly schedule, annual schedule. And Dr. Happy, being the chief physician, is responsible for having core values around what is happy making for you. What is the way you're going to use exercise for happiness and health, etc. And so the key values categories represent each of the doctors. What are my values around what is happy making for me and what I'm willing to do to make sure I take responsibility for my own happiness? What are my values around movement? How much movement do I need for baseline health and general well-being? And what is my dream? If my dream is to play with my kids or my grandkids, well, what kind of play do they get into? Is your kid like to play hockey, basketball? Do you need to get out there and play with the kids and get involved? Well, how old are they? Well, you might need more than baseline fitness to do that. So once you know what your dream is, then you know how to go beyond baseline fitness. And my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, has several stages of progressively more challenging exercise programs that are designed for people in general. But you can hire a CHEK professional to give you an evaluation and get a custom designed exercise program to meet your dream specific goals. But it's up to us to be clear on that. Then Dr. Diet, what are my values around the quality of food that I'm going to eat? And what are the repercussions of me spending money on that given type of food? Remember, every dollar we spend has an impact on the environment. So here we see ECHO. This is a concept I developed many years ago. It's called the ECHO. It stands for energy, chemistry, hydration, and organisms. Everything we eat has a specific energetic profile. It has its own chemistry that affects our chemistry. Every food that we eat, with rare exceptions, has a fair bit of water, and even meat's about 65 to 70% water. And the quality of that water will determine the quality of the water entering our body. And since water can carry massive amounts of toxins and even picks up the energetic signature of toxins in the environment, we have to be conscious of what the animals were fed and what they were drinking, because we will bring that right into our body, such as pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, rodenticides, glyphosate. All that comes in on the plants and in the bodies of the animals that eat it, and it's in the water we consume or drink. So we have to be careful of that. And Dr. Diet also includes hydration. And then Dr. Quiet, how much rest do we need at night? And in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, I have a whole section on sleep, and I show you the optimal rest cycle based on how our hormonal systems are designed and governed, so you know how to sleep properly. I teach you proper sleep hygiene, how to check rooms for electromagnetic pollution, sound pollution, light pollution, and all the things that you need to know. But Dr. Quiet also includes time for introspection. That means time to be in and with yourself. If you don't spend time in and with yourself, what will happen is what I call an externalization of the self. So you'll only begin to recognize yourself by the things that you're doing, by your job title, by your status, by the car you drive, the clothes you wear, how cool your television and your phone are. And so you will put your sense of self into your external environment. All those things are highly perishable. Financial status comes and goes, rank comes and goes, power comes and goes. But if you haven't developed a deep relationship with yourself as those things go, then you can go into a crisis of self and not really know who you are. And that can be an issue that produces a lot of anxiety and ultimately depression for people. So Dr. Quiet's in charge for not only sleep, not only rest from exercise so you regenerate properly, but for introspection. So some of these things could be meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, prayer, even painting with a spiritual orientation, walking in nature, whatever is a chance for you to be alone in and with yourself, to deepen your relationship with yourself, is the domain of Dr. Quiet. And that's also the domain of working in. So where with Dr. Movement, we classically are talking about working out. That's any exercise or activity that utilizes more energy and resources than the movement or activity itself can reproduce in the body. So if the more you work out, the more rest you need, or you start breaking down. Working in the domain of Dr. Quiet means any movement or exercise that done with the criteria that I show here in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, where I have a whole series of zone exercises, and you can identify which ones to do for which challenges you have going on in your body. Those particular type of exercises, such as slow walking or simple activities like a breathing squat where you're just timing the breathing and the movement with very, very gentle movements, ultimately leave you with a surplus of life force energy as opposed to draining you, so we can actually use movement to vitalize the body and the mind. So review, Dr. Happiness is in charge of what's happy making and your core values for each of these 4 doctors. Dr. Movement to achieve baseline health for the average person. You need, depending on the type of movement and the intensity of movement, somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes a day is what many researchers in exercise physiology have suggested. Now, if you're doing heavy weight lifting, you might not need quite so much frequency nor duration as compared to aerobic exercise. But as a general rule of thumb, we need 30 to 60 minutes of some type of movement a day to aid circulation, energy production, detoxification, and overall just vitalizing the body. And then, of course, if you have specific movement needs, such as rehab needs or sport-specific or dream-specific needs, that's covered there. Also, when it comes to the hydration and the organisms, we want to remember that in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, I have a section on water, and I tell you many things you need to know, but the best types of water are either spring water or deep artesian well water. I get our water here, the family gets our water from Mount Palomar, which is right out my window there, 4,000 foot deep artesian well, super, super high quality, super clean water. Artesian water is water that's been pushed up by the earth due to the fact that it's been filtered and energized and gone through chemical changes in the earth, so it has a sort of a natural levitational effect to it. Others say that it's from pressure, from being so down deep in the earth that the weight of the earth pushes it up. So Victor Schauberger talks about how there's actually changes in the water that gives it a levity quality. Either way, it's high quality water. If you go to findaspring.com, you can find natural spring water sources all over the world. You can find spring water in bottles. I highly recommend buying water in glass bottles. I like to get water from the local environment wherever I can. So if you live in New York and you get New York Springs water or something close to you, that's very important because the water carries a homeopathic dose of the microorganisms, parasites, fungi, and creatures in the area. So when you're drinking water from sources close to you, you're getting a homeopathic dose of what's in the environment, which helps the immune system know what to upregulate for and develop antibodies to. Whereas if I'm drinking water from France, but I live in California, then I'm only preparing my body to live in France, not California. So we need to be aware of these and many other amazing things about water. In my book, I talk about things like hardness factor, total dissolved solids, and other things that are important to know, but it would be too much to cover in this short expose of these big 6 principles. So first, you have to clearly state your dream and goal. Have an affirmation. If you don't know what your dream or goal is, then go for your nightmare. If you're going to make an affirmation, make sure it passes the Grand Canyon test. Then we want clearly stated core values. Remember, your yes has no value until you learn to say no. And you don't know when to say no if you have no value. If you have no value about the quality of food, you'll eat anything. If you have no value about what works for you or doesn't work for you, you'll eat all sorts of foods like gluten-containing foods that could be completely screwing up your body and causing you all sorts of body-mind health challenges. So we want to then have our core values. And next we want to, this approach from Stanley Krippner is see it, free it, be it. So see yourself in and as your dream, as that person, as that fit person, as that healthy person, as that vital person. No matter what you've got going on. The mind is far more powerful than most people realize. So see it is to hold the vision of yourself as that person, and that relates to our thoughts. Creation unfolds in 3 stages: thought, word, deed. Free it means whatever's in the way, free yourself of it. Be conscious of how you use your mind. If you have negative thoughts, oh, I'll never lose the weight, or I'm never going to find the right partner, or I'm never going to get over this illness, or I'm depressed and no one's been able to help me, on and on it goes. But what we want to do is name it, blame it, and tame it. Oh, there's the doubting Thomas in me. Name it. The doubting thoughts. There's the doubting Thomas in me. Blame it. Doubting Thomas, whenever you're around, you do not inspire me to make healthy choices and to manage myself well and to live and love fully. That's blaming it. Tame it. Thank you, my dear pain teacher, for showing me where I have a mind virus. Then state your dream and or affirmation aloud. So, thank you, doubting Thomas. I no longer need your help. I choose to take full responsibility for myself. I am fit and 60 pounds lighter in less than 3 months. I'm looking and feeling great. And that's called turning a negative into a positive. And then eat, sleep, breathe, poop, and live as that person. And that is the be it. So see it, think the right thoughts, free it, use your words consciously. Sound produces an organizational force that brings matter into specific patterns. That's called cymatics. If you look up the word cymatics on YouTube, you see amazing videos. I've also got a podcast with John Stewart Reed, one of the research experts in the field of cymatics, if you want to listen to that. Be it is the deed. The Quakers say, pray and move your feet. Don't just ask God to pull miracles for you while you sit around eating, Cheez-Its and watching garbage television. Pray and move your feet means do your part. Walter Russell says the universe operates on a 1-to-1 ratio. For every step you take toward your dream, the universe moves your dreams 1 step toward you. So it's a participation, co-creation universe that we live in. I know this for a fact because I've been doing this for a very long time. And I've created the life I want to live in every way and taken responsibility for it. That doesn't mean it's easy. We don't grow if it's easy. Hey, that's why I call it Spirit Gym here. But it's a lot easier to spend the time, energy, and money to create what you want than begging for help and running to doctors and therapists because you didn't participate. And now you're having to live out your unconscious programming, which is why Carl Jung says if you don't meet your unconscious on the inside, it'll meet you on the outside in the events of your life, and you will call it fate. What is fate? The sum of your choices. So see it, free it, be it. Remember, creation emerges in 3 stages: thought, word, say it, write it down, deed, do it.
I can't believe it's November already, but that means that the biggest shopping day of the year is fast approaching, Black Friday. The CHEK Institute is gearing up for not just one day, but a whole week of special deals, bundles, and discounts. And here's the great part. Paul has authorized me to offer all our Spirit Gym podcast listeners and Spirit Gym members a very special VIP gift, a $50 credit to use on any of the CHEK Institute online courses and bundles on sale during Black Friday week. What's the catch, I hear you ask? Absolutely no catch. You just have to request your $50 credit before the sale starts. Go to chek.group/Black Friday 24, fill out the request form, and the CHEK Institute will get you set up with your credit for Black Friday week. Plus, you can get a sneak peek of all the bargains that will be happening starting November 25th. Do this now before you forget and miss out. Go to chek.group/Black Friday 24 to get your $50 gift from Paul and the CHEK Institute.
Now, there are some common challenges that people face, and I'm going to take you through these 6 foundation principles, but I want to point out that even though you're following these principles, there can be a variety of common challenges. So I'm going to hit that right now so I don't forget. Fungal and parasite infections are extremely common. I've got multiple books in my library here showing that 90 to 95% of the world population has an active fungal infection, which means you are being deemed by nature unvital, unfit enough to contribute, and therefore she is trying to break you down and put you back into the soil as resources for the healthy organisms. So if we have a fungal infection, that's a problem because fungal mycotoxins, the funguses produce mycotoxins that can modulate our immune systems and literally weaken and shut off and trick our immune system. Also, I got research showing about 90 to 95% of the world population has a parasite infection of one type or another. There's about 1,000 parasites that infect the human body. So many are very unaware that a lot of their chronic health problems, skin problems, achy joints, brain fog, visual problems, you name it. The list of things that parasites can do to you is vast, is coming from parasite problems. But if you have a fungal infection, you cannot effectively get over a parasite infection because even if you do the right parasite cleanses and protocols, the fungal mycotoxins will be manipulating your immune system so you can't protect yourself against parasites that are always coming in on food, in water, through contact with hands and body parts and lips and dishes. In fact, the most common way people trade parasites is on money, if you didn't know that, just handling money. So we want to know how to deal with fungal and parasite issues. And I have a very good course on that I developed years ago because this is such a common problem with my patients and students that I realized the world needs to know more about it. So you can go to the CHEK Institute in the e-learning section and look at my Healing Fungal and Parasite Infections, the Absolute Essentials. It's a comprehensive course that teaches you exactly what funguses and parasites are, why they're here, why we have these infections, what's the difference between an infection and a symbiotic relationship. Remember, of the approximately 100 trillion cells that make up the human body, only 10% of them are actually human. 90% of us is bacteria, viruses, and fungi we're in a symbiotic relationship with, or if you have an infection, in a non-symbiotic relation, a destructive relationship. So we actually have to have the realization that our body is actually a living garden, and we have to know how to manage it, which is why we must understand the eco concept. Whatever you do to the energy in your environment, such as spraying chemicals all over the ground, electromagnetic pollution, poisoning, 5G towers, dumping toxic chemicals into the earth and into the oceans, which large corporations do all the time, you do to yourself. Whatever you do outside of yourself in the environment, you do to yourself, because if you change the energy out there, you live in that environment, you change the energy in here, and if it's not symbiotic with human life or nature, then we're killing nature and killing ourselves. The chemistry. Whatever we do outside of us that changes the chemistry, such as pesticides, herbicides, rodenticides, fungicides, glyphosate, industrial chemicals, that comes back to us in our food, back to us in our water, back to us in the air we breathe, and we destroy ourselves. Hydration, whatever you do to the water out there, you do to yourself because you're drinking the water from out there. And the organisms that you eat are either healthy, clean organisms raised by conscious, free-range farming, regenerative farmers, certified or real organic farmers. Some may not be certified, but there's lots that farm organically, or biodynamic farmers, which is the most nutritious food out there pretty much. You have Korean farmers in various classes, but organic farmers, they don't use dangerous chemicals, and if they do use anything, it's natural substances to control parasites and things like that, but far, far massively less toxic food in any environment, meaning even if the stuff's in the air, it's still less toxic because they're managing the soil microorganisms, and research shows that the soil microorganisms, if they're healthy, will keep the soil quite healthy. So these are all things we got to be conscious of when it comes to fungal and parasite infections. Lack of nutritional variety. So I recommend in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, I show a rainbow and say a simple thing you can do for yourself or your children is to make sure you're eating colors, food of all the colors of the rainbow. What's red? Watermelon, red meat, orange, squash, Yellow, more squash, various edible flowers. Pumpkin is orange or yellow. Green, obviously green foods. Blue, blueberries. Purple, eggplant. Violet, could be edible flowers, could be various herbs. But as a concept, we want to eat from each of the colors of the rainbow just to help us be aware of getting more food variety. Research shows that I came across that the average person only eats 10 to 12 foods their entire lifetime, which is crazy, crazy, crazy. There's about 1 million animals humans can eat out there and about 350,000 edible plant species, so there's no shortage of variety whatsoever. But the large corporations are monocropping, destroying the diversity of nature, destroying the diversity of your food supply, and, setting you up for disease to make you profitable because they've got their hands in all these different pies. And there's many good books talking all about that, which is I've just highlighted some of them for you. So we want to make sure also that we look at my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. It has a 4-day rotation diet, which shows you how to rotate your foods based on the genus or the genetics of the food so that you don't overexpose your immune system to the same food genetics over and over, which often leads to food intolerance, especially if you have leaky gut syndrome. And I have a whole section in there on what leaky gut syndrome is, how it happens, what food intolerances are, how they happen, and things you can do about it. So the 4-day rotation diet then breaks your food groups up into genetically separate foods so that every genus you get 24 hours of rest from, and that lets your immune system calm down, it strengthens your immune system. So classes of foods we have is bovine, such as hooved animals like cow, sheep, deer, elk, etc. Then we have birds, and then we have fish, and then we have pork day. And there's different genus of species of fish, for example, that are very, very different. So you can eat them on different days. So I set the diet up so that, for example, if you don't eat pork, there's fish that you can eat, and there's plants that you can eat. And so it gives you a general structure of how to eat and rotate your foods to minimize stress on the immune system and maximize food variety and nutrition variety. And it's also good because if you follow the 4-day rotation plan, you eat the same foods for all 3 meals in a 24-hour cycle. So you can actually set it up so that you start your rotation at night, slow cook, bake, whatever, enough for 3 meals. And then all you got to do is warm food up and have food ready for the next 2 meals. So many of my students that are mothers and people like that have told me the 4-day rotation diet actually makes it easier for them to shop because they know exactly what they're going to have in each of the 4 days of rotation. They know how much to buy, and they don't have to cook near as much. So it's great for busy people, great for parents, great for bachelors, and it's great for your health. So next, of course, is detoxification. That's why I recommended the Natural Detoxification, a practical encyclopedia for detoxifying your body. Because if we are toxic, then we will have a very, very hard time losing weight because our body needs to keep that fat to protect us from the toxins that are stored in it. And if you try to lose weight by going to a gym and forcing yourself to burn that fat without the nutrition on board, then you force your body to metabolize the fat with the toxins in it, which you cannot detoxify, and you can cause sclerosis of the liver, damage kidneys, and cause all sorts of problems. I've seen people go into a health crisis when they started going to a gym to try to drop body fat, but didn't know how to manage their diet and lifestyle. And next thing you know, they're very sick. They're what I call a fit, sick person. And we have too many of those today. Now, to finish our conversation here on the effective use of your mind, this is a manifestation triangle. First, we must realize that we all have the potential to do and be who we choose to be. It's totally up to us to create that person out of ourselves. Great Spirit Source says yes. So if you want to be unhealthy and eat garbage, Source says yes, I'll do that with you out of unconditional love. If you want to be strong and vital, Source says yes, I'll do that with you out of unconditional love. So the answer from source is always yes. Potential, think of the potential in your car battery. It doesn't matter whether you hook it to your car, to a cake mixer, or to a fan. The battery says yes, it's offering you its potential. Source says yes, it's up to you to have a clear dream, goal, or objective. And whatever you've created is a chance for you to look at how well you're using these powers of manifestation for better or worse. So first, we have to be conscious of our mind and our choices. We have to watch and pay attention to and listen to our body each day for feedback so we know if what we're doing is working or not. And that includes paying attention to our mind or our emotions and our dominant thoughts or desires to the degree that they're not healthy or not dream affirmative. We have to say, well, what's triggering that, such as junk food, causes a lot of negative thinking, a lot of suicidal thinking. I've helped many, many people with suicidal thoughts clear that completely out just by switching to organic food and learning the principles I share on how to eat, move, and be healthy to manage their diet effectively. So we also need to remember that there's three qualities to the soul: the abiding function, which is source witnessing its own creation within you. And so that's the abide. To abide means to always be present. The capacity for reflection, which is memory. The soul uses memory in order to make meaning out of things, because if you don't remember, for example, how to read or how to write or how to do math, etc., or who people are, you can't make meaning out of anything. So the soul's got the capacity for memory, so we can remember the things that we have done that worked and did not work and we should not do again. And the soul has the capacity to represent itself, to say, I choose to be this dream. I choose to be this healthy person. I choose to be this vital person. And I know that I need to be that person every day instead of waiting till I've lost X number of pounds or had this or that happen or have this or that much money in order to be that person, because that means every day you're actually living a life of not being that person, and a life that you're fantasizing about being that person, which divides your energy, and you're living in a state of conflict. I'm not healthy. I need to do this. I need to do that. I am healthy. I have this. I have that. Versus just being in congruence with and living, eating, sleeping, breathing, and moving in dream affirmative ways. So the soul abides, reflects, and represents itself, has the opportunity to make better choices every day in all things that we do. For a dream to be effective, we must have clarity. You can't be fuzzy about your dream. Remember, think of potential or source as that which resonates with all thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And to the degree that you're unclear, then the resonance comes back as unclear. To understand what I mean by resonance, we are in sympathetic resonance with source energy all the time. So if you take a tuning fork tuned to the note C and strike it near a stringed instrument, piano, violin, guitar, without anybody even being there, it'll automatically go into sympathetic resonance with the tuning fork, and you'll hear all these instruments vibrating at that same frequency, and it'll sound like there's magic happening, because how are these instruments playing without anyone being there? The vibration from the tuning forks hitting the strings that are at the same frequency, and they resonate. So our thoughts, feelings, and emotions are always in resonance with source, which means we're always getting ourselves back. That's what I teach in Spirit Gym, is how to really become aware of your powers of manifestation and use life as a mirror, a living mirror, to guide you so you can make better choices. So first we have to have clarity, then we have to have belief in ourselves and in our dream, and then we must take action. We must pray, affirm the dream, move our feet, make it happen. Now, some of the things that are very, very important that I often have to do with my patients and clients, especially people that have chronic pain histories, chronic illness histories, or chronic injury histories, or chronic problems in relationships ending badly, such as divorces, broken friendships, chronic challenges with mommy-daddy issues, etc., or anything that's been painful and limiting, is I help them create what's called a must-have list and a must-not-have list. So for example, if you've got an addiction to gaming an addiction to social media, an addiction to drugs, an addiction to sex, an addiction to pornography, an addiction to alcohol, an addiction to exercise, an addiction to studying all the time, ... then in order for you to live your clearly stated dream and be congruent with your affirmation and be clear and in a state of belief and take action, it's good to identify what you must not have. So what are the things that you must not have in your diet? What are the things that you must not have in your lifestyle? For example, if you're someone who's got a habit of smoking, but you've got problems with your lungs, you probably must not have cigarettes in your life. You might want to consider an alternative approach, for which there are many, another podcast topic. So what is it that you know you must not have? Be very, very clear on that and write a succinct but clear statement. And what are the things that you must have that are for Dr. Affirmative and Dream Affirmative? For example, I must have high quality water. I must have organic food or free range regenerative agriculture raised meats. I must have ocean caught fish. I must have high quality water, are must-haves for me. I must have love in my relationship with my family, etc. So what are the things you must have, and your commitment should be woven right into your value structure? And what are the things that are red flags? So that could be toxic relationships. It could be draining people. It could be that I must not have too much contact with my mother because she drives me crazy, so I must love her at a safe distance, which could be emails, it could be voice messages, or it could just simply be sitting in meditation, opening your heart to your mother and sending the intention to her soul to speak to her out of love and share your wants, feelings, and needs without any judgments, and just celebrate that she gave you life and love her that way. And intermittently check in and see if that amount of love that you're pouring into her is actually helping her open up to who you really are and accepting you. Okay? So very important. Must not have, must have, especially important for addicts. Okay?
Hi, everybody. I'm sure you've heard me bragging about Paleo Valley over the years of listening to my podcast, and there's a very good reason for that. Not only do I love the genius of Autumn Smith, a holistic nutritionist, but her products are phenomenally good. My kids love them, I love them, and we all use them every day. My students love them, my clients love them, and they are absolutely top notch. One of my kids' favorite snacks is Paleo Valley's bone broth in chocolate. They love to make their hot chocolate drink themselves simply by whisking up collagen-rich protein powder in a mug of hot water. And I'm happy to let them indulge, as I know it is packed full of great nutrition for them in the disguise of a sweet treat. Even us big kids love our sweet treats, and isn't it great when we can enjoy something that not only tastes great, but is truly great for us? Paleo Valley's 100% grass-fed bone broth protein is the only of its kind made from truly grass-fed cows raised on pesticide-free grass pastures. It's made from bones, not hides, slowly simmered to extract the proteins and nutrients. Gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and dairy-free, the chocolate mix includes organic coconut milk powder, organic cacao bean, organic monk fruit that makes a sweet, creamy, delicious drink that my kids, family, and friends just can't get enough of. You can also add to smoothies, use it in baking, or mix it with your coffee for a healthy mocha treat. Paleo Valley's bone broth protein is also available in vanilla and unflavored. To try Paleo Valley's excellent bone broth protein and save 15% on your purchase, go to paleovalley.com/CHEK 15. No promo is required. That's PALEOVALLEY.com/CHEK 15 to get your 15% discount as a Living 4D listener. No promo code is required, and I promise you, not only will you love this stuff, your kids will love it. You can giggle and laugh because they think they're getting a sweet dessert right before bed, but they will love it and sleep great. And boy, do we parents love it when our kids sleep great. Enjoy Paleo Valley's amazing products.
I want to just talk briefly about the importance of some of these key elements of our 6 foundation principles. Remember, yin is nutrition, hydration, sleep, breathing, and rest, working in and introspection. That accumulates life force energy and takes stress out of us, helps declutter the mind. And yin multiplies power. Yang divides power and resources, breathing, thinking, and movement. So let's talk about this. We've just now had a very comprehensive conversation about thought and manifestation, which is the first step, because none of this stuff works if you don't have that right. Trust me, I've seen it over and over. So breathing, we want to make sure that we know how to breathe properly, but let's just get clear on some of the most important aspects of breathing. One, most people don't know how to breathe properly, and stress or trauma disrupts your breathing pattern. So if you just stand there and just take a natural breath, I just say take a deep breath, what you should have happen is the first 2/3 of the breath should come from belly expansion, because the diaphragm drops down and has to push your organs down in order to create a negative space to draw air into your lungs. So think of the plunger in a syringe. When you pull that plunger back, it creates a negative space and it'll suck the fluid into the syringe. Well, your diaphragm's like the plunger and your body's like the syringe. So when you inhale, the diaphragm, which is shaped like an umbrella, contracts and creates a negative pressure, causing air to pull in through your nose and your mouth or into your lungs. So one of the key things is you want the first 2/3 of the breath to come from belly expansion, and only in the last third of the breath should the chest move, but you should never breathe so hard unless you're exercising really hard and you have to, that your neck muscles turn on. That's going to teach you to have what's called a faulty movement pattern or breathing pattern, and that can lead to neck pain, headaches, jaw pain, visual disturbances, and all sorts of unwanted things. So the first 2/3 of the breath from the belly, last third from the chest. Always do your very best to breathe in through your nose. Your nose has what are called turbinates in it. They're like veins, and they've got a mucous membrane and hairs that are covered in mucus. And those turbinates spin, moisten, and clean the air before it enters the lungs. And there are nerve endings in your turbinates that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the digest, rest, eliminate, detoxify, calming branch of the system, versus the sympathetic. If you breathe through your mouth when you should be at rest breathing through your nose, you can't clean the air properly, and your body thinks that you're in a fight or flight state, and so it keeps cortisol, adrenaline high, cortisol high, tends to elevate heart rate, elevate blood pressure, and it's a stress reaction. So if we want to always consciously remember in through the nose, first 2/3 from the belly, last third from the chest. And if you find that you breathe through the chest, that's called a chest breather's pattern. That's very common. Another common pattern is an inverted breathing pattern. When you inhale, instead of your abdominals expanding, you find your abdominals tighten, which almost always is linked to past trauma that's unresolved. You can simply take a piece of kite string, tie it around your waist, belly button level, tie it, set a watch or a timer on your phone to beep every hour on the hour, and every hour when it beeps, do what I call centering breaths. So with that string around your waist, you consciously use the string to give feedback. So as you inhale, you expand your belly, you can feel the string giving you a little resistance, and you push your belly into the string, not by pushing it, but by breathing and letting it expand. And so you get tension on the string, and that gives you feedback that you're letting your belly come first, and only then let the chest go in the last third, remembering to breathe in through your nose. Then as you exhale, you just relax. Once you can handle doing 12 centering breaths every hour on the hour, and you got the breathing mechanics correct, you can take it to the next stage. As you inhale, visualize energy rising up the spine, and visualize you're a tree reaching for the sun. As you exhale, visualize energy flowing down the front of the body down into the roots of the tree and see yourself growing deeper and deeper roots to anchor you. So I inhale, energy rises, tree rises toward the sun. Exhale, energy flows down through the front of the body, feminine meridians called the conception vessel. Roots grow deeper into the ground. Inhale, governing vessel. This is called the microcosmic orbit in Chinese medicine, and that's where all your 12 major meridian branches draw their energy from. So we're circulating energy through the microcosmic orbit. Good to keep your tongue on the roof of the mouth behind your front teeth, because your tongue here, the tip of your tongue, is the beginning of the conception vessel, which runs through the linea alba down through the sex organs, and then right between your sex organs and your rectum is where the governing vessel begins, and it runs up the spine, over the head, and to the back of your front teeth. So when the tongue's on the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth, where it naturally goes when you swallow, it doesn't need to be pressed up there, just sitting there. And as you're breathing, you're circulating life force energy, where if the tongue's down, such as when you're running or boxing or, exerting yourself, you're bleeding that energy out. But the reason the tongue will come down is because sometimes under exertion, we have to breathe through the mouth and the nose, which isn't totally true. We don't have to do it unless we have an obstruction to nasal airflow. Someone who's a well-trained athlete who has normal craniofacial growth and bodily development can breathe through their nose even under extreme stress. Lots of martial artists train that way. When I was a fighter, they used to tape our mouths shut and make us train under heavy load and learn to breathe through our mouth, such as track intervals, boxing intervals, and things like that. But a lot of people, due to food allergies, food intolerances, things that are irritating the immune system, have so much mucus production, or they have abnormal craniofacial growth and development, and the nasal section of their cranium is too small for their body size, so they have to breathe through their mouth. And in CHEK practitioner training through the CHEK Academy, we teach you how to analyze this and identify who these people are and what kind of help to give them and what kind of specialist to get them to help them balance themselves. So that's a little extra on that. So we've covered thinking, we've covered breathing, and now we've talked about movement in general. But remember, from a very basic perspective, there are 7 primal patterns I identified all the way back in 1988, which is the year I brought the Swiss ball to the exercise community, that we must be able to do to survive in nature. And those patterns turn out to be what we have to do in our normal, everyday work and home environment. They are squatting, lunging, bending, pushing, pulling, and twisting, as well as walking or gait, which has 3 derivations: walking, jogging, and sprinting. Now, not all of us need to jog and sprint in our sort of unique modern environment, but we do need to walk. So those primal patterns should be done standing on your own 2 feet without any support, not using machines at the gym. So we should be able to squat at least 100 times our body weight for average general health without any support. And if you can't do that, in my book, Movement That Matters, I show you how to build yourself up from a descended pattern or a stabilized pattern to a natural pattern, then to an ascended, more challenging pattern. I also have a tremendous amount of that information in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. So essentially what I'm saying is, when we're designing an exercise program for ourselves, we want to make sure that we have developed the ability to, or include in our exercise program, squatting, lunging, bending. A bent over row is a bend exercise. A deadlift is a bend exercise. Pushing. What are the things, like, think of all the things you got to push doors open. You got to push things onto shelves. We used to have to push to build things. We might have to push ourselves up off the floor to get off the floor, out of bed. So we need to be able to push while standing, which is what we have cable machines for. We have push-ups for, and we've got Swiss balls to help make it easier by balancing your body and cutting the load back. All again shown in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, and in my book, Movement That Matters. So squat, lunge, bend, push, pull. We've got to be able to pull from our own 2 feet. And I show you the techniques for that, from easy to harder. And then twisting. Twisting is critical because twisting is the catalyst pattern. All those other patterns depend on the twist pattern. So that can be doing wood chop exercises. It can be throwing a ball. It can be swinging a club bell, a kettlebell, using ropes in the gym, stretching in twist patterns. And then we need to walk at minimum, and that can be part of your 30 to 60 minutes a day of exercise. And if you're healthy enough and stable enough, you can jog. And if you're fit enough, you can sprint. And a general rule of thumb that I developed for progressing an exercise program so long ago I had a full head of hair is first we must restore flexibility. So if you don't have a lot of time for a comprehensive workout, the first thing to focus on is effective stretching. In my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, I give you 20 stretch tests to identify which of the muscles that are most commonly the tightest in the body need to be stretched and how exactly to do it. So first, we must have adequate flexibility to have normal posture and joint health as baseline requirements to begin our exercise program. And that could be at the beginning of a workout, or it can be a period of stretching and postural correction as identified in my book and throughout my courses. And then once we have the body balanced and the body flexible and healthy from that perspective, we then focus on stability training, and to the degree that we need integration training because we have muscles that aren't working. And I show you how to test your core in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, and identify muscles that aren't working and what to do about it. So flexibility, stability. I show you stabilization exercise in there, my scientific core conditioning program, which you can do online, scientific back training program you can do online, Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, and Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 online all talk about the importance of stabilization exercises. My golf biomechanics manual has them in there. The tennis biomechanics manual with me and Lee Brandon has them in there. So I show you proper stabilization exercises because that's the postural system and the stability system. So remember, you can't fire a cannon from a canoe. So if you do a bunch of hardcore training in the gym like CrossFit, but you got a weak stabilizer system and a weak postural system, it's like firing a cannon from a canoe. You're going to get wet. Or having so much horsepower in a car that doesn't have the suspension, the brakes, or the frame to handle it, then you just damage the car or get yourself killed. So we want to make sure that we're flexible enough and stable enough to handle more advanced high-speed exercises. So once we have flexibility and stability, then we focus on strength development as needed for our specific dream goal or objective, first baseline health and fitness. And then and only then should we go to power exercises. But if you look at what's popular at the gym and what a lot of people that are completely out of shape, unhealthy, with muscles that don't work and cores that don't work and breathing patterns are all dysfunctional, they're going to all these ass kicker programs like CrossFit and many other such things, kettlebell classes, and they don't realize that every day they're doing that, they're making their body more and more out of balance. And this is why so many people go to the gym for a few months, get injured, end up having all kinds of pain and problems and have to take anti-inflammatories or get surgery. And then they crawl back to the gym and they keep doing this to themselves over and over again because you're breaking the rule: flexibility, stability, strength, power. You can't break that unless you want to break yourself. Okay, so we've talked about breathing, thinking, and movement. And we've talked about working in, which is slow, gentle movements. And I give you the specific criteria for how to do that, not only in How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, but in Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1. And we take you actually through a whole series of work in movements in Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 online, available at chekinstitute.com in the e-learning section. Nutrition we've talked about. The most important thing is, remember, energy, chemistry, hydration, organisms. Wherever your food's coming from a commercial farm, sick energy, sick chemistry, poison water, and they're feeding those animals organisms that they're not designed to eat, such as cows aren't designed to eat grains. So it acidifies their body, makes them sick. They load them up with drugs. They load them up with antibiotics, and you eat it. You eat plants. Hey, how many people have seen pictures right on television and magazines of people wearing hazmat suits, spraying pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, rodenticides, and glyphosate all over crops, and then they eat it? You mean, doesn't it make you think, hey, that guy's wearing a friggin' hazmat suit, and I'm going to eat that? Well, look at the rates of disease out there. RFK is the only person at the governmental level that we've ever seen actually telling us the truth about what's going on. And what a paradox. RFK is telling you that we got to get rid of all these poison companies while Donald Trump's hanging out at McDonald's and promoting McDonald's. So we have to worry about that little conflict. But hopefully RFK can enlighten Mr. Trump before he contributes to the destruction of our human race, sadly. Okay, so nutrition, hydration. Remember, drink half your body weight in ounces of water a day as a general rule of thumb. I give you the criteria, too much to go into on water, but I have a whole chapter on water that in How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, and we talk about that in Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 online. Talk about things like testing the pH of your water, looking at the hardness or softness of the water, looking at the mineral density in the water. But a simple test you can do to determine if you're well hydrated, and if your water is too acidic, you can be drinking half your body weight in ounces of water a day and have all the symptoms of dehydration. And acidic water is extremely common, especially if you have a reverse osmosis filter and you're not keeping up with filtration changes and cleansing, because it can get parasite and fungal infections and poison you. Seen that many times. But the pinch test, you just pinch a skin on the back of your hand and let it go. Now, mine shows I'm a little bit dehydrated, and that's possible. I better fix that right now. Here's my water. But basically, if you're well hydrated, if you pinch your skin, it should snap back. If it takes less than 1 second, you're probably okay. But the more dehydrated you are, the slower it is. I've seen people that it took like 5 minutes to return, and they weren't old people either, athletes actually. So half your body weight in ounces of water until proven otherwise. Remember, it doesn't count as water unless you can see through it. Water is the chief solvent of the body. Tea, you can't see through. Coffee, you can't see through. Juice, you can't see through. If you cannot see through it, even if it has solute in it like tea, it has to go through the digestive process, and it's treated by the body as a food, not water. So I bring that up because lots of people say, oh, you don't have to drink that much water. Food's full of water. You're getting it out of the berries and out of this and out of that. Yes, well, nice try, but you don't understand that water is the chief solvent that keeps the body clean. It's the chief energizing factor of the body. It's the chief connecting factor of the body. I could go for hours on water alone. So the water's got to be clean water. It does not count as water. If you can't see through it, it's not water. It's a liquid food. Big difference. Okay? So we've talked about nutrition. We talked about hydration, sleep. Look, the average person, unless proven otherwise, needs 8 hours sleep a night, or they're going to go into sleep deprivation, which leads to cognitive problems, coordination problems, motor problems, and causes all sorts of workplace injuries and unnecessary injuries like car accidents, cutting fingers, and just poor quality of life, and you can't regenerate your body. In my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, I show you that in order to be in phase with the sun and the moon, you should be in bed by about 10 o'clock at night and rise with the sun wherever possible, because the movement of the sun drives the levels of cortisol in the body. Cortisol is an activating hormone. It awakens the body, and it's a chief anti-inflammatory hormone. And as the sun goes down, cortisol levels go down and melatonin levels go up. And melatonin regulates the release of our anabolic or growth and repair hormones. So if you're actually staying up late at night and you're not getting to bed on time and you got flashing lights and you're not wearing blue blocker glasses while looking at televisions and screens, you'll get overstimulated. It'll delay melatonin release. You will not get a deep quality restorative sleep. So you might get 8 hours of sleep, but if you're out of cycle with the sun and the moon, you will progressively burn yourself out and have all sorts of health problems, digestive troubles, structural aches and pains, cognitive problems, and you'll probably spend a ton of money on doctors and therapists that could all be cleared up really easily with just sleep. And so this brings up another key point. A lot of people cannot afford a lot of medical help or a lot of fancy stuff. So remember, there is a free access of energy. One, we have movement. We can walk for free. We can breathe for free. If you're breathing properly, oxygen's very energizing to the body. So we always have access to free breath and free movement. We can work on an optimal breathing pattern, and we can work on getting at least 30 to 60 minutes of exercise a day, and anybody can walk. It's free. If you're in a wheelchair, then roll and use that as you're walking. And we've got sleep. Sleep has been known for as long as human beings have been around to be man's best medicine. Hippocrates himself said sleep is man's best medicine. He also said food is man's best medicine, so maybe we need to eat and sleep. So remember that the first thing you can do for yourself is get adequate sleep. Follow the chapter recommendations or what I teach in Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 online. Work on your breathing, do your centering breaths, and get some movement in. And you'll be amazed by just getting those things right, drinking enough water and eating clean food. Skin tags will go away, gut problems clear up, brain fog clears up, energy goes up, sexual performance goes up. We've got a sea of young men out there. I get young men as young as 18 and 19-year-old reaching out to me asking me how to get off of Viagra. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. If we've got men that young using Viagra, we're in deep trouble. Remember, it's a lot less energy at the end of the day and cost to take care of yourself than it is to be ignorant or non-participatory and constantly spending money and spending time going from doctor to doctor and drugstore to drugstore and pill bag and powder and wrap and prop and cream to this niggle and that niggle, and just constantly living at half-mast versus just getting into it and being in harmony with nature.
A quick question for you. Do you know if you're getting enough magnesium? Because 4 out of 5 Americans aren't, and that's pretty much true worldwide. And that's a big problem because magnesium is involved in more than 600 biochemical reactions in your body. Today, I want to talk to you about the most common signs to look for that could indicate that you're magnesium deficient. Listen carefully to the end because there's a special offer happening, and this could be exactly what you need. So here we go on some of the common symptoms that indicate you might be magnesium deficient. Are you irritable or anxious? If you're not sure, ask your partner. Do you struggle with insomnia? Do you experience muscle cramps or twitches? Do you have high blood pressure? Are you constipated? Do you have a hard time falling asleep or getting a restful sleep? Do you feel more stressed than others that seem to be in the same or similar situations? Do you feel moody and wish your emotions were more stable? Do you feel you lack mental alertness? Do you feel you're at risk for osteoporosis and desire to build stronger bones? There are dozens of symptoms of magnesium deficiency, so these are just a few of the most common ones. Now, here's what most people don't know. Taking just any magnesium supplement won't solve your problem because most supplements use the cheapest kinds that your body simply can't absorb. That's why I personally recommend Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the only full-spectrum magnesium supplement with 7 unique forms of magnesium that your body can actually use and absorb. All Bioptimizer supplements are the best of the options available, or I wouldn't be offering them to you. I don't offer anything on my podcast that my family and I don't use ourselves. Bioptimizers is so committed to offering you the best quality products that really work that if you are not satisfied, you can get a full refund, no questions asked. In fact, they are so confident they offer a 365-day money-back guarantee.
And right now, for the entire month of November, Bioptimizers, the makers of Magnesium Breakthrough, are having a month-long Black Friday deal on all their products, and there are free gifts with your purchase. You can save 10% on all your products and up to 25% on special bundles, plus access up to $100 in free gifts with your purchase. This is the best time to stock up and take advantage of all the free extras you're going to get. You can only get this exclusive deal through the special link for Paul's listeners. So shop all month long at bioptimizers.com/living4D and use the code PAUL10 at checkout for your discounts and free gifts. That's bioptimizers.com/living4D and the code is PAUL10.
So we've covered nutrition, hydration, sleep, breathing, thinking, and movement. Now we want to talk about something very important, Dr. Quiet correlates to the winter season, Dr. Diet to the fall season, which means the fruiting season or the harvest season. Dr. Movement correlates to the summer season, and Dr. Happiness correlates to spring. So if you look at my diagram here, we come out of winter, spring, and we've got heat warming up. The atmosphere is warming up. The trees are growing their leaves back. They're coming out of the ground. The plants are springing up. Spring also represents the planning phase, getting clear on what our dream is and writing our goals and our core values out. And then we see that as it gets hotter, we need foods that are cooling because we are getting into an environment that's hotter and hotter. So if you get on some kind of a rigid diet idea and you're just eating the same stuff all the time, you are not following the principles inherent to nature. Every creature out there eats foods that are seasonal, including humans in their natural state. So for example, in the summer, we crave things like salads and watermelon because they have a cooling effect on the body. But if you, in the middle of winter, when there's snow on the ground, start eating watermelon, you'll find your body's a lot colder. It's the wrong kind of food. We need fat for thermogenesis in the winter, so we're more inclined to eat more heavy stuff, more fatty meats, of course, of high quality in the winter because it helps with thermogenesis. But in the summer, we want cooling foods, and each season has different foods that are being harvested. There's winter vegetables like certain roots and certain vegetables. There's summer vegetables. There's fall vegetables. So the point I'm making is if you look at what Mother Nature makes available, you'll see that if by eating seasonally for what Mother Nature makes available, you're going to get a variety of plants and animals, and you're going to get a diverse array of nutrition, which is a lot better. Most people just go to the supermarket and buy the same stuff every day, no matter what season it is. And again, they have such a narrow variety. The average person only eats 10 to 12 foods in their entire lifetime, which is a death sentence. Even if it's good food, it's just not enough nutritional variety. So we want to be aware of what is seasonally available. If you're not sure, just call a farmers association. Go to a co-op. Ask who the buyer is in any of the health food stores you go to or places that sell good food. Go to farmers markets and talk to the farmers. Look at the Nutrition Almanac. You can buy the Farmer's Almanac. Most of these places know what are seasonally grown foods, and you can tell because if you go to farmers markets, if you go to the supermarket, you're going to get stuff that's trucked from all over the world. So when it's winter here, it's summer somewhere else, and then you're just paying to poison the environment with jet fuel, when really if you just go to your farmers markets, and that's the safest thing to do, and just say, do you farm organically? And they will only have what's seasonally available because it doesn't grow otherwise. Now, some people use greenhouses, but the farmers will know what's right for that season. Great chefs know that. Lots of chefs know what is seasonally available because they have to draw from the local markets to make really good food that's high quality organic food. So chefs know these things. So we want to look at that and notice that the summer foods are cooling and the winter foods are warming foods. And there's herbs like ginseng that your body's going to crave more in the winter because it helps heat it up. Ginseng and other herbs are anti-parasitic. So things like garlic and ginger are two examples of anti-parasitic herbs. There's a bunch of them out there that you can look into the course, Healing Fungal and Parasites Infections, the Absolute Essentials. That goes into all that. So now we've covered quite a lot here. We've talked about the 1 love, the 2 forces, 3 choices, 4 doctrines. Now let's talk about the 5 program design factors. I told you the first thing you got to do is qualify a dream. Critical. Heart's got to get into it. If you're not at least 7 out of 10 or higher, means your heart won't buy into it. It's probably never going to happen. You're not going to stick to it. I've seen it over and over again. Next, we have to realistically consider when we're designing a new diet and lifestyle program or an exercise program for ourselves, how much energy do we actually have? If we say, I'm going to work out for an hour a day, but we can barely drag our ass out of bed, well, maybe we need to work in for 20 minutes a day and build up to it. So the key thing is always consider how much energy you realistically have and choose to do the things that you can do that are positive, dream affirmative, and are moving you in the right direction toward health, vitality, good posture, general fitness, and just general well-being, and build up. If you do the right stuff, like I show in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, like we teach in Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 online, then what starts off as someone who can only last 10 or 15 minutes in a month is someone who can last 30 minutes, and in 3 months they can last an hour, and they go, oh my God, I'm feeling better than ever. So first is willingness, and how much time do we have? Like, be realistic. What I say is, if you think you got an hour, then design yourself an exercise program, for example, that only takes a half hour to do. And that way, if you do it and you legitimately have time, you can do more. You can say, well, I got more time, I can do more. But if you write an exercise program for yourself, say, I'm going to do an hour of walking every day, but then you talk yourself out of it because you keep looking, oh, I don't have time, then you're going to abort your own program. So remember the rule, less is more. Start with what is about half of what you think you can and prove to yourself that you have more time and more energy. And when you prove it to yourself, add more. Remember, this rule comes from Charlie Francis, who is Ben Johnson's trainer, the famous sprinter. It's called the 1 to 3% rule. Every time you exercise, you should be able to improve by 1 to 3%. And if you can't, you're too tired, you should be stretching, using a sauna, a cold plunge to get free energy, mobilizing joints, follow the principles for balancing your body and How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy and HLC 1 online. But generally, we want to get 1 to 3% improvement, which is largely subjective because weights don't go small enough in a gym to measure 1%, for example. But if you're doing X number of push-ups a day, what would 1 to 3% might be? One more push-up. Just give that a little bit of extra. Do 1 to 3% better. If you just do 1% improvement, I have a formula called the 1-4-100% formula. If you can improve 1% on any one of your 4 doctors each day for 100 days, you will be 100% improved. Now, if you do 1% a day on 4 doctors, you will be 100% improved in happiness, diet, quiet, and movement in just 100 days. Now, the medical system doesn't have anything to offer you that comes even close to that, or we wouldn't need a medical system. So my goal is to get you to help me minimize the use of the medical system until it actually becomes a medical system instead of a disease and death maintenance system. Okay? So look at your finances realistically. If you buy a gym membership and you can't afford it, and every time you go to the gym, it's going to be stressful. It's like driving a car you can't afford. It's like, oh my God, I've got this beautiful car, but it's killing me. You don't want to add more stress to your life. So look at your finances. Just like you've got to look at time and energy, look at finances and say, what can I do realistically? For example, if you cannot afford to eat organic plants and free-range organic non-toxic meats or regeneratively farmed meats, then my advice is that you put your money into the organic clean meats because animals are bioaccumulators. And then you follow the advice in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, for doing things like using vegetable washes and cleaning the vegetables or skinning things so that you get all the toxins off of them, such as, Bill Gates' genius idea of a peel. Let's just poison all of our food. But anyhow, you want to wash the toxins off because animals accumulate toxins in fat. So doing things like I show in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, taking the fat off. If you cook, say, a piece of salmon and it's not, say it's farm raised and that's all you can afford, which I don't recommend, then let the fat drip into a pan and pour the fat off because that's getting rid of a lot of the toxins. But generally what you want to do to save money is put your money into organic, clean, wild-caught fish and flesh. And then as you can afford more organic produce, add that, and you will decrease the toxic burden on your body quite a bit. The other thing you can do is find co-ops and get together with people and buy larger quantities to get better discounts. When I was young, my mother went to a co-op, and it was far better to buy in bulk. And there's a lot of ways. You got to be creative, man. Just think. remember, if you hold that intention in your dream and you keep your eyes open, the resources will come to you. I'll give you a perfect example of this. One time, I was teaching one of my advanced training programs, and we had a physiatrist, and we were talking about organic food, or I was talking about it in the lectures, and he goes, well, you know, Paul, as much as I'd love to eat that way, I don't think there's any organic farms anywhere near me. I said, I bet you there is. I said, have you ever actually looked? He said, no. I said, well, I'll tell you what I want you to do. I said, on the next break, I want you to get on a computer, yours or someone else's, or your phone, and search organic farms, Rochester, Illinois. And when he did, he almost fell out of his chair. He calls me over to him, shows me a map of the city in the area that he lived. He goes, oh my God, Paul, look at this. There's 6 organic farms within 2 or 3 miles of my house. And he had been living there for years and years and didn't even know it. Okay? So pray and move your feet. Do your part. Okay? And then resources. What resources do you need? That could be an acupuncturist. It could be a foam roller. It could be a Swiss ball. It could be a high quality source of coconut oil. It could be high quality products like all my sponsors offer, Paleo Valley, top-notch stuff, Bioptimizers, top-notch stuff. You want great food, you got wild pastures, regeneratively farmed animals, clean and nutritious. They sell wild-caught fish as well. So, you know, if you look at Organifi, you can get easy stuff to use. You can get organic drink mixes that take seconds to make. I mean, my sponsors provide the top stuff. That's why I work with them. So look at your resources and what's available. And then when in doubt and you can't find stuff, ask friends that know things. Use social media. Go to the CHEK Institute Facebook and ask the CHEK professionals where to find stuff. There's always a possibility. I mean, with the internet, you can find almost anything there is. Okay? So we've covered a lot here today. Now, I want to just make the point, the aging population. If you're, you know, in the 50 plus range, then one of the most important things you can do to minimize aging is be careful of having a closed mindset. Rule number 1 for not aging is stop acting old. You want to stay young, then live young, think young, and act young. Hang out with younger people. Be creative. Spend time with children. Look how creative they are. Look how, you know, open-minded they are. So keep an open mind. Be careful about beliefs. As soon as you start believing shit, you stop asking questions, and that's a death sentence. No matter what you think about God or what your religion is or what your scientific dogma is, always leave a question mark. An open door or a belief system will suffocate you to death, and you'll get old. Okay, so keep a growth mindset, always exploring, always open to new ideas, always open to new ways of living, new ways of being, new ways of, you know, feeding yourself, exercising, thinking, creating. You know, act young, stay young. Exercise, one of the things that's critical. Look, a 63-year-old man that I am, one thing I started noticing about 47 years of age and beyond is if I didn't get some heavy lifting in at least once every 3 days, I could literally watch the muscles start to fall off my body. My butt would start to lose its tone. My abdominals would start to lose its tone. And by the way, research shows that the first 2 muscle groups in the body to weaken and atrophy as you age are the abdominal wall and the butt muscles, both of which are super important for core control, balance, and stability. And falling and broken bones is a major problem amongst the elderly. So you got to do your squats, your lunges, your bends, and exercises that really work your butt muscles. And you need to keep your core in good shape. I got loads of that stuff in How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy and HLC 1 Online and throughout the entire CHEK Institute program. So you got to keep your abdominal wall and your butt healthy as you age. Why? Because there's predominantly fast twitch in those fast twitch muscle fibers, and they're the ones that require high speed, high intensity loading in order to stay active. So especially if you're a male, but females too, you should try to build yourself up to where you can lift something that you can only lift 4 to 6 times or less at least once every 3 days. So build yourself up into the deadlift where it's safe for you to do 4 to 6 RM deadlifts for 3 to 5 sets with a 3.5 to 5 minute rest period. Bench press, get yourself to where you can do 4 to 6 RM reps, 4 to 6 repetition max loads, and you use that concept, whatever lift you can build up to an intensity of between 4 and 6 reps. You can go less than 4, but the risk of injury goes higher as the number of reps goes down toward 1. So you don't need to kill yourself, but you need to stimulate the hormonal system, put tension through the system, and that tells the body that you're not old, and it triggers the release of anabolic hormones. And I promise you, if you practice what I'm teaching you, especially if you're a man or anybody, you can literally do a workout and walk out of the gym feeling more revived, younger. You'll notice your sex drive is better. So it's very important to learn how to use exercise scientifically. And then remember, hydration is very important. As you age, you have a choice. Do I want to be a plum, nice and juicy, pass the pinch test, or a prune, wrinkly, old, and keep in mind, as Dr. Batman Gilage says in his excellent book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water, only 1% dehydration of the central nervous system causes significant psychological disorders, and the elderly are full of these problems, a lot of which can be fixed up by just these simple principles I'm saying here. So if you're 50 or beyond, make sure you stay on top of your hydration. And then remember, your phone, your television, and social media, those should be used as tools. Remember, a phone makes a better tool than a master. If you want to lose your mind, get caught in belief systems and segregated against people of different color, races, creeds, and beliefs, spend too much time watching mainstream news, which is all, remember, all the news media out there is owned by 6 major corporations, all of which are in bed with medical corporations. And there's a nice little web of let's keep you sick, tired, scared, and profitable. And that's a fast way to get old. So use social media, television, and things like that as a tool that fits into your overarching dream and your 4 Doctor core values, or you will wake up one day and go, look at me, I'm 40 or 50 pounds overweight, I feel like shit, I'm on 5 medications, and where do I go from here? Not the way to go, okay? I started this video with me building a very hard to build stack of rocks. So I showed you that at 63 years of age, I still have washboard abs. I'm still fit. I can still think. I'm still highly productive. I've got young kids. I've got a 45-year-old son, a grandson, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And I'm not doing anything magical. I'm just paying attention and listening to my body and following the principles of nature and remembering energy, chemistry, hydration, organisms. And remember, every dollar you spend is either making your environment healthier and keeping you healthier, or it's destroying your environment, both physically, emotionally, and mentally, and destroying you. So it's not that hard to do. Now, for those of you that are ready for a career to help billions of people that are lost and confused about this stuff, and listening to a sea of internet experts, most of which talk a fancy show but have all kinds of health problems and body shape problems themselves, if you want a career, that's what Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 is your entryway into. That 3-day training program online, which you can do at your own pace, taught by several instructors that are all masters, gives you the basic training you need to start practicing and living. When you're ready for professional training, you come to Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 2 and advanced training, Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 3. You got my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. You've got the 20th anniversary edition. Why? Because everything in there is still true. It's been slightly updated now and then just to keep it on top of the game. You got all these books I recommended to show you that everything I'm saying to you is true, but the most important thing was me saying, here I am, proof of it. And, I'm not a fit, sick person. We've got lots of those out there today. We've got smart, sick people. We got people that talk all kinds of biochemistry and fancy-dancy stuff, but you look at their bodies and it's obviously not making it to the home plate. So, the proof's always in the pudding, right? I say put up or shut up. And this is your chance. These are simple principles. Anybody can do it. I've had people come to me with multiple cancers and all sorts of diseases and health problems. You name it, I've seen it, and this is the foundation. If you don't do this, you don't heal. You cut shit out, and you got another problem 6 months or a year later. You cut that out, it keeps going on. Next thing you know, you're in trouble. And it might interest you to know, as I shared on a podcast a while back, the number one cause of bankruptcy today worldwide is medical expenses. There are now so many people who have such high medical bills it wipes out their savings, wipes out their kids' college funds, and they end up going bankrupt, not because they were abusing credit cards or spending foolishly, but because their health is so bad they keep going to sick doctors. There's an old saying, dead doctors don't lie. Well, the average doctor only lives to be, the last time I looked, 58 years old. Not good marketing. Air traffic controllers have one of the most stressful jobs in the world, and they don't die that young. The problem is if you believe what you've been indoctrinated into and it doesn't include this, then you're in a drug-pushing system and you're in a surgical system, and that's no way to live. Drugs poison the body. There's very few drugs out there that don't make the body more toxic. Okay, so we've covered some very important things. We've covered 1 love, 2 forces. Find out what your imbalance is, follow the assessments on how to eat, move, and be healthy, and make steps toward it. Now, we've got 3 choices. I never covered that. 3 choices. Optimal choices, what's best for everybody involved on your dream team. That's all the people supporting you. And what's dream-affirmative? Suboptimal. Usually gives you instant gratification. Oh, just a little bit of alcohol, just 1 cigarette. Oh, I could go to the gym tomorrow. Excuses. They give instant gratification, but ultimately cause a deficit in your ability to manifest your dream because you're not clear and taking dream affirmative action and believing in yourself. And it usually causes problem on your dream team because the people that are supporting you are saying, hey, what are you doing? I did all this to support you, and now you're doing that. You're going against your own dream. So we don't want that. Optimal, best for everybody and you. Suboptimal, instant gratification. Do nothing has 3 applications. 1, if you don't know what a word on a label means, then do nothing until you look it up. Carry these things with you to the store or use your phone and search at minimum, okay? So do nothing option number 1, gather enough information to make an intelligent decision. 2, call a timeout if you can't stay connected at the heart to people that you love or people that are important, such as key work relationships and family members, and just say, look, I got to disconnect until I can stay connected at the heart, and come back when you can stay connected at the heart. So call a timeout so you can protect important relationships before you damage relationships. And the worst application of do nothing is apathy. Apathy means I don't care. I don't care about me. I don't care about you. I don't care about my kids. I don't care about the world. I don't care about anything. And apathy is a late stage of depression usually, and those people are usually dangerously close to suicide. So we don't ever want to get apathetic. If you're getting apathetic, it means you've lost touch of the magnificence and the beauty of life and love and the power that we have to create for ourselves and for each other. Okay? So that pretty much wraps it up. We've done 1 love, 2 forces, 3 choices, 4 doctors, 5 program design factors, qualify your dream, how much time, how much energy, how much finances, and what resources do you have. Make sure you're honest about that. Remember, less is more. Start with half of what you think you have and build your way up so you don't abort your own program and put too much stress on yourself. Nutrition, hydration, sleep, breathing, thinking, and movement is the foundation. And remember, thought is the first stage of creation. Word, second stage, deed. See it, free it, be it. And have a clearly stated dream affirmation that passed the Grand Canyon test. Have clearly stated 4 doctor core values, because your yes has no value till you learn to say no. If you think you have a fungal or parasite infection, get my program, Healing Fungal and Parasites, the Absolute Essentials. Healing Fungal and Parasite Infection, the Absolute Essentials. Get the books that I talked about to the degree that you're interested in that stuff. And let's make the world a healthier place together. Let's take our health back. Let's act like adults and take responsibility for ourselves. Remember, pay attention to what your body's telling you. It's always telling you the truth. Your body never lies. If you're getting fatter and fatter, ask yourself why. If you're losing weight and you shouldn't be, ask yourself why. If you're tired all the time, start investigating. Have a loving, committed relationship with your body, and it'll always love you back. Remember, energy, chemistry, hydration, and organisms, whatever we do to the environment, we do to ourselves. So remember that every dollar you spend is either poisoning the environment, which poisons you, or you're supporting the people that are making the world a better place, such as organic, regenerative, and biodynamic farmers. And these are the basics we all have to live by. Thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Look forward to sharing more. Thank you to my sponsors for your amazing products and your commitment to supporting the real farmers of the world that are taking care of our planet, and for feeding us high quality products. And thanks for everything you buy from the sponsors. A little bit goes to the podcast so that I can take the time and the energy and have the resources to support you. And if you'd like to join the Spirit Gym podcast membership, it only costs about the price of 1.5 cups of Starbucks coffee a day for 4 weeks of additional extended play. So under $8 a month, you can get a lot extra. This month, or this podcast, I'm giving you all the full podcast as a gift because I think this is all important. And for the members, I will do a 1-hour Q&A session with you on a Zoom meeting so you can get my direct support. And I send you all my love. Let's all do our best to make the world a better place now and in the future for all living beings, not just human beings. Remember, Mother Nature supports us, so we must support her by love's boomerang, coming full circle, making effective choices, caring for the environment, and caring for ourselves. Can't wait to share something exciting with you next week. Aho.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Paul talking about the Big 6 for body, mind, health today. Remember to grab your VIP gift from Paul and the CHEK Institute, a $50 credit to use on any of the CHEK Institute online courses and bundles on sale during Black Friday week. To request your $50 credit, simply go to CHEK.group/Black Friday 24 and fill out the request form. Plus, you can get a sneak peek of all the bargains that will be happening starting November 25th. So do this now before you forget and miss out. Go to CHEK.group/Black Friday 24 to get your $50 gift from Paul and the CHEK Institute. If you enjoyed today's show, check out the Spirit Gym podcast membership. Subscribers get access to exclusive extended episodes of Spirit Gym with Paul CHEK, members-only Q&A opportunities with Paul, access to the podcast members forum within the Spirit Gym community where you can interact with other passionate listeners, and the opportunity to purchase exclusive Spirit Gym merchandise. Your support helps keep the show running and allows us to bring you even better content. So if you're ready to dive deeper and unlock all these amazing extras, head over to paulchek.com/podcast and become a Spirit Gym podcast member today. If you're looking for any of the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit the show notes page at paulchek.com/podcast. You can also find details from the special offers from our premier sponsors, Bioptimizers, Organifi, Paleo Valley, and Wild Pastures. Make sure to follow Paul on his social media, Instagram and TikTok at paul.chek, X at paulchek, and his YouTube channel, youtube.com/paulcheklive. And finally, if you enjoyed today's episode, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and a warm review on the podcast platform of your choice. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube.